The time is now 9:36 a.m. and a quorum of the board is present. The State Board of Education meeting of August 8th, 2023 is called to order. First item on the agenda is the approval of agenda in order of priority. Are there any items that board members would like to add or delete from the agenda? Dr. Pritchett.
Thank you. I would like to move to have an addition to the agenda, a resolution on the use of Native American mascots, nicknames, and logos, and promote a better understanding of Native American peoples and culture.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
The second by Mr. Bullock. Dr. Pritchett, any discussion relative to adding this to the agenda? This is not the time for discussion of the content.
No.
Very good. Any other discussion? Hearing none, this is a straightforward vote on adding Dr. Pritchett's resolution on Native American mascots to the agenda. Ms. Evans, if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Bullock?
Yes.
Lipton?
Yes.
McMillan?
Yes.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Pugh?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Snyder?
Yes.
And Tilly?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Do we have any other motions to add to the agenda? Dr. Pugh.
I would like to add draft motion to request an opinion from the Michigan Attorney General.
We have a motion by Dr. Pugh. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Snyder. Dr. Pugh, any discussion relative to adding this motion to the agenda, not necessarily the substance thereof?
No. I'm always aware that the public is listening and not necessarily in tune to what we're talking about. So this is related to an opinion from the Attorney General related to the constitutionality of Executive Order 2023-6, which created the Office of My Lead.
Very good. We have a motion. We have a second. Do we have any other discussion? Hearing none, if we could please have a roll call vote. Ms. Evans.
Bullock?
Yes.
Lipton?
Yes.
McMillan?
Yes.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Pugh?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Snyder?
Yes.
And Tilly?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. Any other motions to add to the agenda? Any other recommendations for amendment? Hearing none, we could have a motion to move the agenda as amended. Dr. Pritchett moves. Ms. Lipton seconds. Any discussion thereon? Hearing none, if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Bullock?
Yes.
Lipton?
Yes.
McMillan?
Yes.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Pugh? Robinson?
Yes.
Snyder?
Yes.
And Tilly?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. At this time, Ms. Evans, State Board Executive, will introduce the members of the State Board of Education.
Good morning. You have just been listening to Dr. Michael Rice, Chairperson of the Board and State Superintendent. To his left around the table are Board President Dr. Pamela Pugh from Saginaw, Board Co-Vice President Ellen Cogan-Lipton from Huntington Woods, NASB Delegate Dr. Mitchell Robinson from Okemos, Ms. Nikki Snyder from Dexter, and Ms. Nanette Hansen, the Michigan Teacher of the Year from Escanaba Area Public Schools. Seated behind them is Board Co-Vice President Ms. Tiffany Tilly from West Bloomfield. Back to the table to my right are Mr. Tom McMillan from Oakland Township, Board Treasurer Mr. Marshall Bullock from Detroit, and Board Secretary Dr. Judith Pritchett from Washington Township. Virtually, we have joining us today Ms. Stephanie O'Day, the Governor's K-12 Policy Advisor ex officio.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. I'd like to take a moment to welcome and introduce Dr. Michelle Harmala, our new Deputy Superintendent for P20 System and Student Transitions for the Michigan Department of Education. She began her role in July 2023. Dr. Harmala has had a lengthy career in education. She has taught at every level within the pre-K to higher education system and has served in numerous roles, including being a teacher, special education director, local school district superintendent, and college professor/program director. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Harmala to the Michigan Department of Education. Public may register to provide comment during the public participation portion of the meeting at approximately 1 p.m. Those wishing to make public comment must register before 1 p.m. today. To provide public comment by telephone, please complete the registration form on the MDE webpage, www.michigan.gov/MDE. To provide public comment in person, please complete a green public comment form when you arrive here at the meeting location. These instructions are listed on the MDE webpage, again, at www.michigan.gov/MDE. Board, we begin with a motion associated with honoring our outgoing 2022-2023 Michigan Teacher of the Year, Ms. Nanette Hansen. May I please have a motion to adopt the resolution honoring Ms. Nanette Hansen as attached to the superintendent's memorandum?
So moved.
We have a motion. We have a move by Dr. Pugh. We have a second by Ms. Lipton. Any discussion associated therewith? Ms. Hansen, I will tell you, you have been a joy to work with as the Michigan Teacher of the Year. You have represented the state well. You have represented your region well. You have represented your school district well, and Lemmer Elementary well as well. So we appreciate you, and we wish you well as you return to your students and your community. Thank you very much. Please.
I would just like to echo those words and thank you, Ms. Hansen, for all that you've taught us over the year, and for doing it with such joy and being able to take us around the state while we sat here at the table. And we thank you. And this state owes just so much to you and the educators such as yourselves. And so thank you, and wishing you well.
Thank you.
So any other discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Evans, a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Lipton?
Yes.
McMillan?
Yes.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Pugh?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Snyder?
Yes.
And Tilly?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Board, as we pivot to 2023-2024, may I please have a motion to adopt the resolution honoring Ms. Candace Jackson as the 2023-2024 Michigan Teacher of the Year? So moved by Ms. Tilly. Do I have a second? Second from Dr. Pritchett. Any discussion associated therewith? Dr. Pugh, if you could read that into the record, please.
Absolutely. Where is Ms. Jackson? Whereas throughout Michigan and across the country, teachers open children's minds to the magic of ideas, knowledge, and dreams. Whereas teachers keep American democracy alive by laying the foundation for good citizenship, and their hard work and their efforts are directly responsible for creating the leaders of tomorrow. Whereas teachers fill many roles as listeners, explorers, role models, motivators, and mentors. Whereas teachers continue to influence us long after our school days are only memories. Whereas the State Board of Education has continually supported teachers with several quality initiatives, including the Michigan Teacher of the Year program and the Milliken National Educator Award. Whereas the State Board of Education and the Michigan Department of Education have named Candace Jackson, a third grade teacher at Mann Learning Community in Detroit Public Schools Community District, as the 2023-2024 Michigan Teacher of the Year. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the State Board of Education expresses its appreciation and gratitude to Candace Jackson and the tens of thousands of educators around the great state of Michigan for their outstanding work. Be it further resolved that the State Board of Education supports all efforts, training, and resources available to our state's educators so that our teachers may continue to educate, and positively influence the children of today as they become the leaders of tomorrow. So we welcome you to our table. It was so great meeting you when we were able to surprise you, or we tried to surprise you, I should say. But we just thank you, and it was really inspiring, I think, when Board Member Tilly and I were saying, you know, we can't wait for you to be here, and your response was, I have some things to share, and so we can't wait, and so welcome.
Board, any discussion before you vote on the resolution that Dr. Pugh just read? Okay, hearing none. Ms. Evans, a roll call vote, please.
Bullock?
Absolutely.
Lipton?
Yes.
McMillan?
Yes.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Pugh?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Snyder?
Yes.
And Tilly?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations, Ms. Jackson. We look forward to you being at the table. In fact, if you'd like to take a seat at the table now, we'd welcome you there. During this time, we will honor our Michigan Teacher of the Year and our Regional Teachers of the Year. This presentation will be facilitated by Dr. Delsa Chapman, Deputy Superintendent, Division of Educator, Student, and School Supports, Ms. Jennifer Robel, Manager in the Office of Educator Excellence. Dr. Chapman and Ms. Robel, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Rice. Thank you, and good morning, Board. So, about the Michigan Teacher of the Year program. The Michigan Teacher of the Year program, organized by the Michigan Department of Education, Office of Educator Excellence, and sponsored by the MEMIC Education Foundation, identifies exceptional teachers in our state, recognizes their effective work in the classroom, amplifies their voices, and empowers them to participate in policy discussions at the state level. Teachers are recognized both regionally and at a state level. Regional Teachers of the Year, or who we refer to as our toys, and the Michigan Teacher of the Year, Ms. Jackson, you will be known as the MTOY, comprise the Michigan Teacher Leadership Advisory Council, MTLAC, and serve as an invaluable resource to the Michigan Department of Education and other state education stakeholders by representing the view of teachers in important policy discussions. In addition to serving as the head of the Michigan Teacher Leadership Advisory Council, the Michigan Teacher of the Year represents Michigan teachers at national events organized by the Council of Chief State School Officers, or CCSSO, and the Michigan Teacher of the Year is Michigan's candidate for that year's National Teacher of the Year, or the NTOY. The R-Toys and M-Toy were selected following a multi-level process that began with hundreds of nominations of teachers by students, staff, and community members. Now, let's watch the moment when Candace Jackson is announced as our M-Toy.
We have some really special guests here with us today. I'd like to introduce Dr. Michael Rice. He is the state superintendent. His greatest joy continues to be his interactions with you all, and that's why he's here to make a really special announcement. Dr. Rice?
So good afternoon, students. It's great to be in Detroit today to celebrate you and your successes in schools. Teachers help make differences in children's lives every single day. Please give another big round of applause for every single teacher you've ever had. So can you keep a secret? Boys and girls, can you keep a secret? Yeah. Okay, good. Because I'm about to tell you a secret. The 2023-2024 Michigan Teacher of the Year is right here in Man Learning Community. Give it up for Ms. Candace Jackson.
Thank you, boys and girls. Thank you, third graders. Thank you, everyone in the room. To be nominated is very humbling. So to be right here, right now, I don't even know what to say.
She's knighted with her official garb and jacket as the State Teacher of the Year. Thank you, Dr. Rice.
Thank you. And now, Ms. Robo, will you now do us the honors of introducing our additional recipients as our toys and others?
I will. Thank you, Dr. Chapman. I would like to thank Ms. Tilley for serving on the panel for the MTOY interviews. She did an excellent job, and I look forward to her helping again next year. Dr. Rice, if you would like to join Ms. Lee at the table with the awards, we can begin the presentation. Okay, ready? Okay. So, board members, thank you again for having us. This is probably the best board meeting you'll be at this year. I'd like to first introduce Region 1, our toy. Dr. Gina Pepin is a reading teacher at Lemmer Elementary in Escanaba Area Public Schools, and here today to accept the plaque for Escanaba Area Schools is Nanette Henson. Thank you, Dr. Pepin. Region 2 is Brandy Clark. She is a mathematics teacher at Kalkaska Middle School in Kalkaska Public Schools. Here today to accept the plaque for Kalkaska Public Schools with Ms. Clark are Superintendent Rick Heitmeyer and Principal Ryan Moore. Thank you, Ms. Clark. Region 3 is Stephanie Nielsen. She's a kindergarten teacher at Shawmut Hills Academy in Grand Rapids Public Schools. Here today to accept the plaque for Grand Rapids Public Schools with Ms. Nielsen is Principal Timothy Mabin. Thank you, Stephanie. Region 4 is Bridget Sova. She's a special education teacher at H.H. Dow High School in Midland Public Schools. Here today to accept the plaque for Midland Public Schools with Ms. Sova is Superintendent Penny Miller Nelson.
First with her?
Yep, first with her.
Thank you, Bridget. Region 5 is Jennifer Sinkmajor. She's a fourth grade teacher at Yale Elementary School in Yale Public Schools. Here today to accept the plaque for Yale Public Schools with Ms. Sinkmajor is Superintendent Kurt Sutton, who I graduated with Elma College with in 1994. Go Scots.
No, you get in the picture.
They're all teachers, you think that, no. Yeah. Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks, Kurt. Region 6 is Nicole Miner. She's a mathematics teacher at Lansing Eastern High School in Lansing School District. Here today to accept the plaque for Lansing School District with Miss Miner is Lansing Eastern Principal, one of my favorites, Marcel Carruthers, and Superintendent Ben Schuldener.
You gotta have a family affair here.
Region 7 is Jamie Hilsaki. She's a visual arts teacher at Schoolcraft Junior Senior High School and Schoolcraft Community Schools. Here today to accept the plaque for Schoolcraft Community Schools with Miss Hilsaki is Superintendent Rick Ferns and Principal Matt Daly. Thank you, Jamie. Region 8 is Lori Rickert. She's a second and third grade teacher at Childs Elementary School in Lincoln Consolidated Schools. Here today to accept the plaque for Lincoln Consolidated Schools with Miss Rickert is Superintendent Robert Jansen and Principal Mary Eldridge. Thank you, Lori. Region 9 is Vanessa Robert. She's a kindergarten teacher at Canton Charter Academy in Canton. Here today to accept the plaque for Canton Charter Academy is with Miss Robert is Director of School Quality Kim Bondi and Principal Jen Conley.
She doesn't want to. Adorable. Adorable. Yeah. Yeah.
From my grandmother.
There's a lot going on. That's cute.
Thank you, Vanessa. And board members, I just want to take a minute to thank MEMIC, the Education Foundation, for their generous sponsorship. This year, they donated $60,000 to the MTOY program, which covers over $10,000 of Miss Jackson's expenses and the rest of the art toys. So we wanted to thank her and the foundation for that generous donation. And now, Region 10 Teacher of the Year and 23-24 Michigan Teacher of the Year, Miss Candace Jackson is a third grade teacher at Mann Learning Community. In Detroit Public Schools Community District, and here today to accept the plaque with Miss Jackson is Assistant Superintendent of Communications, one of my favorite people in the world, Crystal Wilson, Principal Lakeisha Simpson, and Assistant Principal Aaron Johnson.
Detroit is in the house.
I'll say thank you.
There we go.
Thank you for sitting here with me. Thank you for sitting here with me. Like that.
You got the place on. We're sliding that.
Thank you, Board. Once again, I appreciate all of your support, and so does the Office of Educator Excellence. This is a huge program throughout the state, and it's very important for us to recognize all of the educators, including support staff.
And thank you, Ms. Robo, for all of your hard work out of the Office of Educator Excellence and making sure that we are always on par in recognizing and giving honor to the educators who do so much and who represent well this great state of Michigan. So again, Dr. Rice, thank you for your support, and thank you, Board, for entertaining us this morning.
Thank you both. We're going to pause for 3 quick minutes and get the R toys and the M toy for a group photo right outside, okay?
Thank you.
We'll be back in 3 or 4 minutes, Board. And Board, any board members who would like to sneak into the picture, we're good with it.
Yeah, sorry. I had it ready for you.
How are you? Let's get in the photo.
Sure. Let's go get the photo. I go? No? Sorry, you don't want to get in the photo?
I'm gonna pull up the PowerPoint and then I'll come. Or you going out? Sure. You can go out there. I'll go look at it. You want me to? Okay, I'll look at it.
And I was like,
Okay. So I just put in there. Okay.
Let's see.
copies of the two resolutions that were just added?
Did they make their way down?
I was on,
Right.
yeah, the table's not there that has been there.
It's in the corner. The table is in the corner instead. Yep.
Nope, not there.
That is exactly.
No, I don't even know who to say I'll telephone for you anymore.
Perfect, thanks.
You're welcome. I might have that in me.
So was he was
We have a flight. Got it.
and up downs acquired by pharmacies.
Also, this other bill.
It's amazing that he's right now, like, throw that out.
That wanted to talk about.
My dad's office was like, okay. It was cool. When it was funny, one of the VPs.
Oh,
Actually, he was on the same street as my dad.
right.
His son was there too. And so we both were there. It was fun.
Then pass these out, right?
Yeah.
We're 10 years later.
So this is you.
And you spin it. It's like, okay, well, whatever I'm charging is because I, I give you a lot of tax. It was, you know,
I can do that.
yeah, because I remember I was
I know, it's weird.
a couple clients. Yeah.
I used to teach. I've done it for years. And I still.
It predates you. Don't get me wrong, Liz.
Okay. I always figured a little bit.
Actually,
Exactly. Like I always tell my students, everybody gets that one, like, it doesn't matter.
Mr. McMillan, you had a good month off?
I did. How about yourself?
Always good.
How are things in the city?
We're actually doing well.
Good.
I mean, you know, you get your negative things that come along every now and then, but nothing major. Nothing. We've had more positive stories than negative. So,
Good.
city council's on recess. You know, the legislature's on recess. Not a whole lot of negativity going on right now.
And we need to touch base on reimbursements and per diem and stuff
Yep.
like that. Tomorrow, what is your, so Thursday, I was planning to take off, my son got, I have a sophomore, and 3 scrimmages got added at 9, 11, and 1:30 on Thursday.
3 baseball scrimmages?
Soccer.
Okay, yeah.
Right, so I plan to take Thursday off, but if either Wednesday or Friday, you have time throughout your day.
Tomorrow afternoon, like, so Wednesdays we start with our administrative cabinet meeting every Wednesday, so we get Duncanized every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m.
Got it. Got it.
By the afternoon, it'll free up. So,
Okay.
all right.
Just shoot me a text message because and I can let you know about meetings or whatever, but just let me know what
Yeah,
time
yep,
works
yep,
for you.
yep. Okay. We can do it over Teams. I mean, I got Zoom.
You have Zoom?
I have a Zoom account also. So.
Okay. Whatever way you would like.
TikTok. I'm gonna set a stopwatch and then I'm gonna laugh at every time you change the slides. See if you or Spencer can do it better. Sorry.
Do you want to run it? Do you want me to run it?
It's fine. I can send this. I can.
I can run it and then you can run it when you're ready. You want that? We didn't talk about that part.
I'm just your backup.
Arm candy, as my husband would say. It's a very sharp tie, but I was looking for the bow tie.
I was gonna do it.
Did you see the with the bow tie? Awesome.
I have a bunch of plans. I'm probably
I
30.
do, yeah, and you tie them all yourself. You obviously tied ones you told me, yeah. I went home quickly and told my husband that. I'm like, they're all ones he ties himself. He goes, every time he's got a couple, and every time we have to pull up the YouTube video and watch it.
It's like tying a shoelace, though.
Yeah?
It's just, you just have to make sure it's taut and it's
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
the way you want it.
Board members, members of the community, the next item on the committee of the whole agenda is a presentation on Michigan's top 10 strategic education plan. Goal number 8, provide adequate and equitable school funding. During this presentation, we will share information on our top 10 strategic education plan goal of improving both the adequacy and the equity of our school funding in the state. We welcome our presenters, Dr. Diane Golzinski, Deputy Superintendent for Finance and Operations, Mr. Spencer Simmons, Director of the Office of Financial Management. This is an informational presentation. No board action is required. Presenters, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Rice. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be with you. As Dr. Rice said, today we will outline some key pieces of the fiscal year 24 budget, including the FY23 supplemental, how they relate to our strategic education plan goals in general, and we will talk about specific pieces as they relate to those goals. This is a very significant budget in support of our students and educators. It does not quite reach the School Finance Research Collaborative recommendations, but it gets us closer than where we have been. What you will see is a per pupil foundation allowance increase, getting us to $9,608 per pupil. And we will also see a $900 million deposit into a school aid rainy day fund, which allows for protection of that per pupil allowance if there was ever a year-over-year reduction in our school aid revenue. $154.9 million increase for students with disabilities in Section 51E, and $5 million to provide personnel with training on special education processes, including evaluation, instruction, legal requirements, and other topics. $204.5 million increase for economically disadvantaged students. This is our at-risk funding in Section 31A. The difference here is it creates an opportunity index. With the opportunity index, it allows for more funding as the concentration of poverty increases. $13.2 million increase for our English language learners. $2.7 million increase for students in rural and isolated districts. Sticking with Goal 8, we have an additional $36 million spread over 3 years for our partnership districts. So over the base allotment, the partnership districts will receive a total of $12 million additional each year. $125 million for the newly created School Transportation Fund, which reimburses districts for the costs of school transportation. and $125 million for the My Clean School bus grants, which looks for purchasing low or no greenhouse gas emission school buses. $245 million from the School Consolidation and Infrastructure Fund provides funding for the consolidation of school districts, including physical consolidation, and $150 million to implement the My Kids Back on Track, which is per pupil payments for those who were not proficient in math or reading in order to address unfinished learning. Under Goal 7, which is our increase the numbers of certified teachers in areas of shortage, you will see $25 million for the My Future Educator Fellowship Program and $50 million for the My Future Educator student teacher stipends. $63.8 million for the Education Compensation Program and $50 million over 5 years for grants to support and retain new teachers, counselors, and administrators through mentoring. Still under Goal 7, there is $10 million to support the infrastructure of the Talent Together Coalition and $66.3 million for the Talent Together Grow Your Own, and $5 million for Teach for America's Teach Michigan initiative. We see $15 million to pilot a rural educator credentialing hub, and $5 million for awards to teachers who hold national board certification. Moving on to Goal 3, improving the health, safety, and wellness of students. We have $160 million for universal free meals at school, including $2.5 million for student meal debt forgiveness. We also have per pupil payments, $328 total, for both mental health and safety needs. These funds have to have an intent of at least 50% of those funds are spent on mental health. What we saw last year was per pupil for safety, per pupil for mental health, and this year it was combined. Still under Goal 3, we have $33 million in funding for our school-based health centers, $45 million for facility upgrades for those school-based health centers. $50 million for the My Healthy Schools grant program. These are competitive grants for schools to lower energy costs and improve health outcomes, and it requires a 50% match from grantees. We also have $28.9 million increase in the Section 31N, which is the school mental health and support grants. The money goes to ISDs and then is feathered out to local districts. That is an increase in the initial payment to ISDs as well as an increase in the per pupil allocation and funding for ISD administration. We have $6 million for districts and ISDs to purchase and implement tools that will identify early behaviors that might require intervention to prevent abuse, self-harm, and violence in schools, and $3 million for grants to purchase firearm detection software called Zero Eyes. Last year, we had a bill passed creating the Smart Internship Grant Program, and this year under Section 31FF, we have $15 million allocated to promote that program and be a part of supporting students in graduate level mental health professional programs. We also have $1 million for a pilot program to districts to distribute feminine hygiene products upon request to eligible students. Moving on then to Goal 1, which is expanding early childhood learning opportunities. We have a $90.8 million increase for the Great Start Readiness Program, where the full day allocation is increased to the same per pupil allotment of $9,608 per child. And then we have $18 million in the Great Start Readiness Program Transportation Fund for transportation in the Great Start Readiness Program. $30 million to implement an early childhood workforce project to assess workforce needs, update pathway and alignment, and create a pilot that tests strategies to sustainably increase wages and benefits. $6 million increase in the early childhood block grants, and $18 million for a pilot program for 3-year-old Great Start Readiness Program. We saw additional Great Start Readiness Program flexibility, which allows for additional days and hours and number of weeks per year in the Great Start Readiness Program. Moving on to Goal 2, improving early literacy achievement. $140 million over 2 years in per pupil grants from pre-K to grade 5 to improve literacy instructional practices. And $4 million for the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, as well as other early literacy programs. There was $94.4 million for the Detroit Public School Community District Gary B. versus Whitmer settlement, and $3 million for the Detroit Parent Network for parental training, support groups, early literacy, and other parental supports. We saw $10 million for the Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling, otherwise known as LETTERS training for professional learning. $14 million to administer the 10 My Family Engagement Centers, and you'll hear more about those centers in a moment with Mr. Simmons. And $2 million for a statewide campaign to share how parents can support early literacy in children. Additional opportunities within the state school aid budget that don't necessarily fall under one goal, but multiple goals. We saw $25 million over 2 years for grants to support mathematics teaching and learning, as well as a doubling of our competitive grants for before or after school programs and summer programs for children. $11 million for a K-5 music education pilot, and a $1.5 million increase to support our Michigan Data Hub network. There is $9 million for cybersecurity risk assessments, $4 million to develop teacher professional development programs for computer science and computational thinking, and $6 million for teaching diverse American and local histories. Then the MDE budget.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. The FY24 Michigan Department of Education budget is a significant budget. Within this budget, there are 13 additional full-time equivalent positions. 6 of those positions are under the Office of Great Start for Family and Community Engagement. There are 3 positions that have been added to the Office of Health and Nutrition Services, 2 of those positions for mental health and SEL support, 1 position for a school nurse school nurse. Under the Office of Financial Management, there have been 2 positions that have been added for the School Infrastructure and Consolidation Fund and the My Healthy Climate Plan, and 2 positions under the Office of Educational Supports to support new math education programs. There's $5.5 million added for Wonder School. Under this section, recruit is for recruitment, coaching, potential child care providers. There's $6 million for Prime Schools, provides high schools with engineering and manufacturing programs. And there's $40 million that has been added for the construction of a new dormitory under the Michigan School for the Deaf. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board members, thank you very much, presenters. Board members, any questions? That was a rapid-fire description of more than $20 billion worth of state budget. Ms. Lipton.
Thank you, Dr. Rice. Thank you for the presentation. I agree. I think this is really a monumental and transformational budget, and I think that we can all be very, very happy about the fact that we've had a robust budget for second year now. I would like to just drill specifically into just a few of the areas that you covered, so I'm just going to refer to the pages on the PowerPoint. I'll refer to the slide number. I think that might be easier. So beginning with slide number 6, I'm really, really pleased with the opportunity index. I think this is something that I began advocating for back when I was in the legislature. And so I'm really pleased to see this in this. But I would like just a little bit more detail on it. I think the theory behind it is wonderful because I think it does get us closer to the notion of basically funding our students based on the needs that they present and understanding that not every student presents or would cost the state the same amount to educate them adequately. Is this something, though, that potentially could be actually made permanent? In other words, in this particular situation, presumably this opportunity index is for this budget, but there's not necessarily any guarantee that it would be extended into future budgets. Would that have to be something that would be put into state statute separately? I mean, in other words, this is just more of a theoretical question in terms of to make this concept permanent, which is actually the way it's done in other states, so that it doesn't necessarily change year by year.
So a budget is signed and it does become statute in that sense.
Right, for that
but
year.
Correct. It is listed as a recurring line item, and the intent is for this opportunity index to be assigned annually.
Okay.
Now, for a separate statute to be created to codify this particular idea, I believe would have to happen to make that permanent.
Okay. Could you just explain, if you know, any of the outside research? Was the School Finance Research Collaborative consulted in determining this particular opportunity index? The only reason why I ask is that sometimes these types of things are put in based on the money that's available, which is great when you have a budget surplus, but I'm just sort of curious to know, if you know, whether there was thought, because we had heard earlier presentations from SFRC on this, and so I'm curious. I would think that some of those research and ideas made it into this, but I don't know, and I'm just curious to know if you know whether they were consulted or whether they had a part of this.
Of course, I have not looked at the committee schedule to see who presented. I do believe that I read an article that, yes, the SFRC has presented in front of the committee.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know for sure. I can find out for you.
Okay, there was just
curious. But just to note, this concept did not originate with SFRC.
No.
This was one of 3 topics that SFRC said required greater study. I know because I was working on the steering and technical committee, and I recommended this idea to be shoehorned into the SFRC study for additional study, because it was a gap, as you pointed out years earlier. This capital needs a gap, and transportation a gap. And so SFRC has worked to drumbeat around filling in those gaps from that original January 18 study. So I think the committee, the 2 appropriations subcommittees, the broader appropriations committees, were guided in large measure by SFRC reflections and recommendations, but not in this particular case.
Ah, interesting. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Okay, question was answered. Okay, going on to slide number 11. I thought this is an interesting idea that's been sort of bandied around for a long time, the notion of school consolidation. So on slide number 11, the $245 million from a school consolidation, an infrastructure fund. Is there any other meat on that in terms of, you know, the notion for a long time, at least when I was in the legislature, there was a lot of talk about school consolidation as a way of saving money. And in my opinion, the research doesn't necessarily support that. There are different reasons why you might want to consolidate, but that oftentimes it's not something that the community wants, and you have to overcome community resistance, so on and so forth. Any indication of how this might work? I mean, school consolidation is not particularly easy to do. I mean, and there's even now a lot of research about whether the last successful school consolidation, Ypsilanti Willow Run, was actually successful now that they've looked at it, you know, however many years later. So I'm just curious to know, that's a lot of money. And can you just put some more meat on the bones in terms of how that might work and what parameters?
What I can tell you is that that particular section
Yep.
requires that districts who want access to these funds must have had a facility condition assessment done and been part of a school feasibility study.
Okay.
So
they had to have
without that,
precursor.
correct.
Okay, so say that at facility.
A facility condition assessment
Okay.
and a school feasibility study.
Okay, so they would have to sort of put some.
Correct.
And presumably the community would have, well, there'd be some involvement from the community before that happens. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. That's helpful. Going on to slide 13. The $50 million over 5 years for grants to support and retain new teachers, counselors, and administrators through mentoring. Could you just put a little bit more clarification in terms of how that might work? Is this to create a core of like, I know there were ideas years ago to talk about like, you know, a category of teacher mentors, or what exactly, how would that work? What is the idea behind that $50 million? Because I mean, that's not a huge amount. So I'm just curious to know, is that more like train the trainer concept, or what?
Mind if I take that? What I can tell you is that the legislation specifically says that programs funded under this section are intended to expand support for new teachers, school counselors, and administrators, improve their instructional practices, and improve teacher retention.
So this would be something that would be happening at the school district level. Okay, so maybe if a school district contemplated having a core of experienced teachers and perhaps paying them a little more to take on that added response. Okay.
That's how I'm reading that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Slide number 14, the $5 million to Teach for America's Teach Michigan initiative. Is that the one that I read about, dealing with bringing in Teach for America to help recruit? They were recruit teachers in, I think it was 1 or 2 different communities.
Dr. Kennedy, could you perhaps share anything you know about that? Dr. Kennedy is our legislative liaison, former state rep herself.
So yes, there's the traditional Teach for America that we think about. A number of you are probably familiar with it,
Yeah.
which is recruiting and training and getting folks into the classroom.
I mean, they run it's like a 5-week program.
And then they have a year. It's a service. It's like a service.
Yeah.
Teach
I
for
mean,
America, and very
results are
competitive.
Very spotty. On
So
whether
then you're right. There is this additional program that has been in Detroit. I think it's been in Detroit for a year, maybe 2, where they're working on not just recruiting, but also retaining individuals who are already in the community, a part of the community, teachers. There's a lot of professional development, trying to keep those teachers that are already successful and a part of the community in Detroit, in that surrounding area, so that they're not, losing the talent. And I believe that this is, they're going to try something similar in some other communities. In Kentwood, yep.
Sorry?
In Kentwood.
Kentwood.
Right, okay, that's what I thought, it was sort of in the ground. Any further language in the boilerplate in terms of retention, whether these teachers stay in the profession? Because the TFA model has really been criticized, like, nationally. And so I'm just curious, is there any
I don't believe there's a report in the
meat on the
boilerplate.
bones in terms of whether the people actually stay in the profession or whether they go on to
200 educators.
just
Five for each.
$5
We can
million.
get you, we can
Okay,
get you
no
more
problem.
information regarding
Just
the
curious.
requirements.
And is this over and above some amount that Teach for America gets already, I feel like, in our budget?
There was a large investment last year, in last year's budget for Teach for America.
So this $5 million is it over and above that? Okay, all right. Interesting, okay. Let's see, I think I'm getting close to
Thank you, Dr.
the
Kennedy.
end. Yes, thank you very much. On slide number 19, you just mentioned that this firearm detection software, you just said quickly Zero Eyes. I'm not familiar with that. Is that?
Zero Eyes is the name of the firearm detection software. It
Okay.
works with the current camera system within a school district, and it can detect firearms on persons as they're walking by.
Okay, is that, do you know who developed that or who's?
It was a group of Navy SEALs.
Is that something
It's
that
a
other
company
schools-
called Zero Eyes.
Okay, are they a Michigan company or they?
I don't know if they're a Michigan company, but
They're
I can
not
find
based
out
in
for you. I don't believe they are. I believe
Okay.
they're national.
National, okay.
So I was gonna say, it detects, once the firearm is brandished, it mounts to other camera systems throughout wherever that security system may be, whether it's on the
Within the-
freeways, outside on a parking lot, or a school system, or a building, an operation here.
Oh.
And it will detect a firearm once it is brandished from an individual. So if someone came up the
Send it
hallway
to-
and there's real-time
Okay.
dispatching of the information to the law enforcement units that are local and in the building.
Okay, got it, okay. And so presumably other school districts use it? It's something that's like
Well,
a known thing?
I'd say it's not new, but after the unfortunate incident in Oxford, it is a particular type of software that would have been helpful in that situation and moving forward. So Zero Eyes is the one that I believe the legislature just happened to
Thought was the right one.
thought was good for funding some money in the school systems.
Got it, okay, thank you. Okay, that one was answered.
You skipped slide 16.
Did I skip slide 16?
I know you had a question about the 50-50 on the mental health and safety while we're talking about the Zero Eyes, and so like.
Oh, actually I did, but I felt like I had dominated this, so I thought maybe I should just move on, but I.
No, I would like to know, so I want
Oh.
you.
Unheard of. Going back to slide 16. I wanted to know, that's great. I mean, that's a nice, healthy amount. Could you just explain to me how that's intended to work?
In addition to her, like I wasn't here last year. Like I don't know the breakdown. I don't remember. So at 50% of 328 is 164. How do we get there? Like, is it? Yeah.
I gotcha. So for public schools, last year there was $150 million for mental health and per pupil payments, $150 million for safety per pupil payments, and then $18 million for non-public schools. This year they've combined it. all in one. So that's how you get to the 328. There's $28 million for non-pubs, 300 million for pubs per pupil payments. They can use them they can use the dollars that they get for mental health or safety. The intent is 50% will be used for mental health of what they get, of what each school gets. So it's a per pupil payment based on October pupil counts.
Okay. All right, so the boilerplate talks about intent language, but it's not
Correct.
necessarily
Correct.
built in that there's going to be
Yep.
some kind of an audit, or it's more like an honor system.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And districts get to choose how they want to spend the funds. Some last year used it to purchase their Zero Eyes in their per pupil safety funding. So they already have Zero Eyes, right? Some used it to hire other professionals. There's a wide variety of how districts chose to use it based on their own needs.
Just out of curiosity, is there some almost like best practices menu that school districts can, presumably they can call the department, get some sort of guidance?
Absolutely,
okay.
yes. We have people who work hand in hand with districts on that.
We've got some extra money, how might we want to use?
Right.
Okay.
What do you suggest? How can we help them?
Okay. Let's see, okay. In this, I'm sorry, slide number 25, the 140 million over 2 years in per pupil grants to improve literacy instructional practices. It sounds to okay, so this is something that presumably is going to go directly to the district, so it's not necessarily, would this be something like continuing education for existing teachers? This is not intended to deal with teacher prep programs and how literacy is being taught.
Correct.
At that level. This
That's
is
right.
just sort of, you've got your teachers and you're going to maybe give them some extra.
Correct.
Okay.
Research-based best practices.
Yep, okay. That's what I thought. Okay, and just, I think I understand this. So just slide 31, this is my last question. The two additional MDE FTEs for school infrastructure and consolidation and my healthy climate plan. So just going back to the discussion about school consolidation, presumably these would be 2 additional staff members to potentially help districts
Yes.
explore once they have those.
The 2 additional positions would have to coordinate with the other state departments that are involved with this, and then also work with the districts on the consolidation. We would be looking for someone that has the expertise that is somewhat familiar with consolidation of buildings to serve in that role. But then you also have the My Healthy climate plan piece of it too. So these would be very specialized positions that would have the ability to work in tandem with the other state departments that work with this particular consolidation fund, and then also be able to work with the districts as well to assist them.
But just to be clear, just going back to what you said, in order to access that pot of money, the districts have to have this pre-work done before they even, okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Rice.
Thank you, Ms. Lipton. Are you sure you have no more questions?
Sorry.
It's all good. No, we appreciate the questions. They help others formulate theirs as well. They're important. Ms. Snyder.
I'll keep it brief to slide 6 for the opportunity index. Do you have access to the opportunity index that this budget is proposing that you can share with us?
As in,
What's on the slide, right?
So it says creates an opportunity index assigned annually for payments that are a percentage of the target foundation allowance. Okay, where can we have access to that opportunity index?
So the opportunity index is actually in the state school aid budget. It's very lengthy. That's why you don't see it in here. But there are multiple stages that it actually goes through that would qualify someone for different allotments of additional payments on top of the per pupil allotment. ranging from 35% to 47%.
Okay. So this would be above and beyond the per pupil, each student in that district would get 45+% of that base, in addition to the per pupil, correct?
Not 45 specifically. It depends upon where they actually, entirety of the district, yes, and what their actual opportunity index score is.
Okay. Can we somehow translate this concept within the legislation to an algorithm that we can look at eventually?
Yep, be happy to create that for you.
Slide 13 for the educator compensation program, the $63.8 million. Is there a no-cost pathway to certification for special education teachers and CTE teachers within that?
The $63.8 million for educator compensation is for wages. It's not for the development of special educators.
Is there anything within the budget that offers a no-cost pathway to certification for CTE or special education teachers?
There is. There's money for scholarships. There's $305 million in the fiscal year 23 budget for scholarships, which is embellished in the fiscal year 24 budget. There's student teacher stipends that have been embellished from fiscal year 23 to fiscal year 24. There's grow your own money that helps teachers with low cost or no cost certification work. So it's not specific to special education or CTE. It's more broadly within the field. But each of these elements helps young people or older people get their certification at low or at low or no cost.
So if I'm a teacher that is already a certified teacher in the state of Michigan or qualifies through the legislation that made it possible for me to come from out of state, I'm a teacher here in Michigan, what would I do if I wanted to become a special education teacher or a CTE teacher to access the resources that give me the pathway to get that certification? Where would I go? To an ISD? To the MDE?
If you are already certified?
As a teacher and want to get the additional certification within CTE or special education.
So you would, if you are a Michigan educator and you want to stack credentials, you would go to a teacher cert program and say, I am a teacher, I'm an elementary teacher, I want a reading endorsement. I'm an elementary teacher, I want a special education endorsement. Based on my transcript, what do I need for the next step, the next stackable endorsement?
And are there dollars within this budget
There
to
are.
assist those teachers? Okay. Where are they?
So there are, like I said, there are fellowship or scholarship dollars.
Okay.
Fiscal year 23 into fiscal year 24. There are student teacher stipend dollars. There are grow your own dollars. Grow your own for students to become teachers, support staff to become teachers. There's loan forgiveness funding. So the buckets in teacher shortage funding, there are about a half dozen buckets associated with teacher shortage. I might add, these buckets all or primarily originated with the department's recommendations to governor, to legislature in October of 21.
And just more broadly, there's also Michigan Reconnect and the Michigan Achievement Scholarship. Not specific to teaching,
Yep, very good point. But specific to embellishing your credentials.
Our promise zones are using Reconnect particularly for people 25 and over who want to go into teaching.
Right, a program that was mentioned at some length by our Leo partners in June, right? Back to you, Ms. Snyder.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other board members? Other board members? Mr. McMillan, Dr. Pugh.
On 17, talking about school-based health centers, I've always, ever since they came into being, I've been part of people who are concerned about these as far as parental involvement and the ability to do things to kids without parents knowing it. What kind of requirements are there so that parents sign off on anything that happens to the kids at these health centers?
It would be the same requirements as visiting a private physician. The parents would have to provide approval. That is often done through permission slips that the parents would have to turn into the school in order to have the student be allowed to be seen at that health center.
This would even be required even if the student, perhaps right or perhaps wrong, claims the parent is not caring or would not would not approve the health help that they think they need. I mean, no matter what, the parents would have to sign off on anything.
These are trained medical professionals that have that as their ethical duty to get the parent permission, yes.
Okay. And then how would we, looking at 26 and the $94 million for the Gary B settlement, how can we know, can we get specifics once it's spent, how it was spent?
That is a part of the legislation. Where's 11B?
Like a report that's required or something in boilerplate?
Give me just a moment. We'll find it.
Oh, no, you don't have to get exactly. I mean, but there's some kind of report?
It is part of the legislation, yes.
Okay.
That they must report.
Yeah.
There's a panel
There it
that's
is.
formed, correct, that has
There-
to approve what's.
That's right. There's an advisory
Right.
panel that recommends, I believe, to board and superintendent in DPSCD how those dollars are spent.
Yep. That's exactly
And
right.
the composition of that board, I think, is prescribed
In the
legislation.
settlement agreement.
Mhm.
And then finally, on 16, and I know some of my colleagues are pretty upset that I've advocated this, but I will continue to because I do get good feedback and I think it's the right thing. When we're talking about spending hundreds of millions on mental health and safety needs, I still believe that because of compulsory education laws, we are forcing kids who shouldn't be in schools full-time that they have to, or else their parents could go to jail. When I brought up a specific case, Dr. Rice said, well, the police will just turn an eye and say, hey, we understand, but that doesn't really help systemically and throughout the state. And also, I think that if we were to do this and say, look, if there's mental health issues and the kids need to, the parents and the kids need to focus on getting that right and not have to worry about whether somebody's going to knock on their door and throw them in jail, that's the most important thing. And it would probably help safety. There's probably kids that, because they're being forced to stay in there, may become more violent or have a proclivity towards it, especially if they're being bullied or whatever else. So I think there's a lot of instances where we could save dollars and probably save a lot of kids, at least mentally and long-term, if we really would think about changing compulsory education and parent, put on restrictions or whatever. But I think that if we did this, there would be a flurry and a whole area of nonprofits and churches and others that would come alongside and grow, industry that is really interested in helping these kids. Right now, they can't because they'd be helping the parents break the law. So that's preventing any real ingenuity, I think, that would be able to develop. And so I don't see the mental health of $328 million every board meeting. I don't get a chance to talk about this or develop my thoughts on it, but I have seen the problems of forcing kids into areas where they don't want to be, and where it would really help if we had some flexibility, and not just, we know you're breaking the law, but we're going to turn a blind eye to it. That doesn't work throughout the state, so I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McMillan. Dr. Pugh, to you.
Let's see. I'll start with the term consolidation, because I remember us talking about this in the previous budget, but it sounds like in this language, we are very clear that this is about consolidating districts. And was that the case in the previous language where there were dollars given?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not consolidating buildings, it's consolidating districts.
It is about district consolidation, yes.
Okay, all right. Let's see. I guess if we're on slide 16, the 328 million, can any of these funds be used to build the profession? Because we know we talk about sending people to professionals, but you can't send people to professionals if they're not there, because that's a profession like the teaching profession and others that have been defunded. So can any of those dollars go towards helping to build the profession? And I remember we received a presentation some months ago that spoke to some programming around how we were helping to build the profession.
It could. A local district could choose to use their funds in that way. We also have Section 31FF, which is $15 million specific to helping to build the profession, and a number of other grant programs, and MDHHS also received funding in their budget specific to promoting the profession and growing the profession. We are working on a presentation for this fall as well that will outline all of those efforts more deeply for you.
Okay, thank you. And school resource officers, are those folded into that, or have those dollars gone away?
They could be. If that's how a district wanted to use them, that's absolutely how they could use them. Mm-hmm.
But in previous budgets, that was the allocation.
It was a separate line item, okay. Correct.
Let's see. The school infrastructure, Michigan Healthy Climate Plan, I'm very excited about those funds. And I'm just wondering, there's been a lot going on, and unfortunately we can now see the unhealthy air. And I'm wondering if I did hear, and I am happy to hear this continuation of departments working together. So that would be Eagle, DHHS, MDE. That's beautiful. And there have been I've received calls about educators these last few years who have been impacted by the poor air quality, and just hoping that we can get that close and that involved in making sure that the school buildings are, and those, more importantly, the educators and the children inside of them, their concerns are being addressed. And this has particularly been brought up in Southwest Michigan, something that has been brought up for years. And so hoping that can be a part of this. And even those communities, I do understand that Wayne County is putting some additional air monitors in those spaces. So hopefully that we can involve education in those discussions. And for some reason, I have page 11, slide 21. I don't know if there was anything else that I had there. I know. So the goal 1, all of those budget items will be allocated to the new department, I'm assuming. Page 11, so that would be slide 21, 22, 23, 24.
We do not have any details yet on what that will look like.
Okay, and these are things, and this whole budget, to board member Lipton's point, this budget is to be celebrated, commended, and really commending MDE and the State Board of Education for all of the advocacy. It didn't just start last budget cycle, the budget cycle before that, but for years, These have been items that we've been calling out and advocating for, so finally coming to fruition. I will have to say it is concerning that some of those may be moving to another department. So I think that's it for my questions. I think just, and my thoughts. And then to Board Member Lipton's question about the Teach for America, I did have a friend that reached out to me that was asking about one of the programs, and it sounded like they were offered $30,000 to complete a program through Teach for America. This was a very seasoned educator that was going to be paid to go through the programming. So I think it would be good, and I believe, don't quote me, but I believe it was $30K. I probably could look through my...
35.
Oh, 35?
35.
Oh, okay. Well, it wasn't down, it was up 35. So, wow. So I guess instead of asking if, what will be some markers that we will be monitoring, just saying that there needs to be, and hopefully being able to give input on what those markers are. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pugh. Other board members, Dr. Pritchett?
Thank you. I just want to concur with Dr. Pugh and Ms. Lipton. In particular, slides 12, 13, and 14. And I know on 12 and 13, we receive updates from the department related to numbers of individuals who are taking advantage of these programs that provide support to them, either financial support or other types of support, in order to get more individuals into the pipeline, not only for teachers, but counselors, administrators. But when we get to slide 14, we're dealing with groups that are outside of the purview of MDE. And so I am encouraged and would want to have some sort of feedback on what kind of numbers or what kind of supports are happening with those budget allocations at this point, because those are significant dollars, and it would be helpful to understand what types of things are happening, where is the impact happening, particular in the state, et cetera. So just as kind of as a FYI as we go throughout the year, if we could have some sort of indication on that, that would be helpful.
Thank you, Dr. Pritchett. Any other questions or comments? Dr. Robinson.
About the Teach for America initiative. So MDE has provided $30 million over the past 2 years to Teach for America Detroit to focus on teacher retention. I have 2 questions about that. One, has it been effective in Detroit? Because we recently received an email from the superintendent asking for additional help in keeping teachers in Detroit. So I'm curious about the effects of that. Secondly, Teach for America's business model is to keep teachers in the classroom for 1 to 2 years. How is a group whose business model is not based on teacher retention, but is actually based on teacher turnover, how are they supposed to provide in-service and professional development to address teacher retention? I've looked on Teach for America Detroit's website. I don't see anyone in the Teach for America Detroit office who's taught for more than 2 years. So I'm curious who is providing, and I'm not asking you to tell me this right now, but I would be curious to know who's providing the professional development, how successful it's been to date in keeping. I think Superintendent Vidya's email was specifically about special education teachers. How successful has that $30 million of funding been to retain special education teachers in Detroit? And the group is, or the program is now being expanded to, I think it's 5 other school districts: Kentwood, Saginaw Public Schools, Sault Ste. Marie, Benzie County Central Schools and Traverse City, which is all over the state. And that's going to require a fair bit of capacity in order to monitor, supervise, administrate those programs. I'm all for anything we can do to help keep teachers in the profession because we have a teacher shortage issue. But I'm not sure that this is the group, or I haven't seen any evidence that this group has actually been able to do the things that they're saying to do. So maybe at our September meeting, we could get a little bit of an update on how the $30 million has worked and what the plan is for this additional funding, addressing teacher retention from a group that doesn't endorse teacher retention.
See what we can put together.
We will reach out to TFA for more information in writing to clarify. The state legislature appropriated the funds through MDE to TFA.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions or comments, Dr. Robinson? Okay, very good. Thank you. Mr. Bullock.
I think I was going to just suggest that maybe have TFA or a representative or an explanation be brought towards the, I don't remember necessarily Rep. Kennedy. We were talking, because TFA had a negative connotation in Detroit or around the country, we had long discussions with them when I was in the legislature about modifying that and working more to be more diverse, to stay longer. So I don't know if they've reached that place where they're trying to modify and adjust their mission. So to have someone come explain where they are, that would be advantageous to
Fair
the
enough.
questions by Brother Mitchell.
Thank you very much. Anything more for the good of the group on TFA or beyond? Mr. Bullock, more?
Because I'm always playing catch up. Like some of the stuff, like where are we tracking? Like we were talking about the mental health, the 50-50, but then maybe like slide 18, we're talking about the increase of the mental health grants. So like, are we, like where could we get the information to track the growth or whether the program's growing, how many more professionals we're getting, where they're going, what communities or districts they're going to, which communities are taking advantage of the grant opportunities to hire more mental health professionals, et cetera. I just would like to be pointed in the right direction.
And that is part of the October update that we're planning for you. That is our Section 31N work. The funding goes to every ISD, and as the funds have grown, they have been able to bring in additional school districts. You can imagine the smaller ISDs have every school district involved, and our larger ISDs are doing their best to continue to bring in additional school districts. But we'll be able to give you the number of additional professionals and the number of additional children being seen every year under that funding.
And then beyond 31N, there's 31O funding,
Right.
which is specifically for the hiring of helping professionals.
Yep. Which
And there was an increase of more than 600 helping professionals in the first year of 31O funding, which dates back 2 years ago and rolls forward with declining support from the state, increasing support from the local school districts. Was it something I said? Any other things from any other board members? Going once, twice, thrice? No. Okay. On this budget, it is a very significant budget, as Dr. Golzinski and Mr. Simmons note. 5% increase in per pupil foundation allowance, $458 per child for a per pupil foundation allowance increase. I can remember the years when we were fighting over the difference between $50 and $75 per year. Ms. Garcia, Dr. Chapman, Dr. Carnell, you remember those days when we were arguing with the state legislature that just another $25 per kid could keep us from making draconian cuts. I remember the $470 per kid cut in 2011. These increases are quite a bit different from what we experienced 12 years ago. look at economically disadvantaged, funding for economically disadvantaged students. That was stuck at $309 million, Dr. Harmala, for years in the state. And this budget increases 31A funding by $204 million, an increase of 27%. And as Ms. Lipton notes, adds in an opportunity index. So the more economically disadvantaged, the greater the percentage of economically disadvantaged students you have, the greater the funding that you have. That is to say, the greater the need that you have, the greater the funding to meet the need that you have. $155 million increase in students for students with disabilities. That's a 46% increase. That's a ginormous increase. A 50% increase for English learners. A big deal, because we know that particularly beginning English learners require a lot of sheltered instructional support. $2.7 million increase for rural and isolated student districts. That's a 31% increase. All of these are children that cost more, require more, they cost more, and we should be funding them more in our state school aid act per SFRC. $36 million more, as you point out, for partnership districts. 47 partnership districts across the state of Michigan. To Dr. Pugh's point, for years this board has advocated for more funding. And that funding is beginning to flow in areas supportive of Michigan's top 10 strategic education plan. We group the budget by effect on top 10 strategic education plan goals. So more than $90 million additionally for GSRP expansion, but also the flexibilities board that you asked for 3/4 of a year. They were finally approved in a budget supplemental, and happily that was passed concurrent with the fiscal year 24 budget, but nonetheless hugely impactful for opening up GSRP expansion. Because for years, we had a model that was underfunded when it came to GSRP. We were funding GSRP less than we were funding K-12, and we were expecting children to go to school, not educators, but children to go to school 4 days a week. Well, that 4-day-a-week GSRP program was competing against 5-day-a-week childcare and 5-day-a-week begindergarten or developmental kindergarten. And if parents need their child taken care of 5 days a week, it doesn't matter about the quality, because I have to have my child taken care of on that Friday as well, or that Monday as well. So this budget, among other things, removes impediments for and actually incentivizes 5-day-a-week programs instructionally as opposed to 4-day, 36-week instructional years as opposed to 30-week instructional years. That's a big deal. The $140 million for literacy is critical. And we would like it in good measure, not completely, but in good measure associated with the science of literacy, with activities that help teachers understand clearly how to help young people decode. But it's not just about the how of literacy, as Ms. Jackson knows, it's about the why of literacy. You have to give children the capacity to read, but then the excitement about what there is in books. And that excitement is different for every child. And we have to be presenting a range of different topics and themes and faces, for that matter, for our young people to experience in text. So to Ms. Lipton's question, there are 3 gaps in SFRC. If you go back to the January 18th study, the one gap is associated with transportation reimbursement. And it basically said, this is important. We don't have time to address this in our 330-page report. But SFRC came back last fall and produced a study saying, this is what we think we need in terms of transportation reimbursement. This is how we think we need to do it. And the legislature was supportive of a transportation reimbursement appropriation, has a study for us to reflect upon how we distribute those dollars, what sorts of requirements there might be associated with those dollars. So SFRC, while it had a hole in the January 18 study, it filled that hole in the fall of 22, and the legislature acknowledged that filling in this fiscal year 24 budget. Another gap in the original SFRC study was infrastructure. SFRC said across the country, there are other states that do it differently. Other states provide some funding for low assessed value communities to be able to access state funding for infrastructure. Michigan should too, but we need a separate study on this. And what is going on now is that a year ago in the fiscal year 23 budget, Section 11Y, the state legislature said, we're giving $20 million for this study, and it's being led by Oakland Schools, and a consortium of ISDs are working on this. This study is launching now. It's an important study because we're going to get a sense, system by system, building by building, district by district, of the needs across the state. So think about a roof being a system in a building, the heating, ventilation, air conditioning system being a system in the building, and so on and so forth. So system by system, building by building, district by district, what are the capital needs? And what should our capital investment in the state be for those districts that don't have the wherewithal to go to their local communities? Some communities can afford, they have the tax base to afford a millage or a sinking fund. Some don't. And so for those that don't, or for those that have less of an opportunity, the state has to fill in the gap so that children have roughly the same opportunities district by district, and not different opportunities based on where they're born, where they're educated, where they're raised. So that's a second gap in SFRC that SFRC is working to close with the legislature, and to a lesser degree with the department, yes.
With charters?
Pardon me?
Charters also?
Charters are not involved
Okay,
to
only
the best of my
certain.
knowledge.
That's right.
Yes.
Has that ever been done in Michigan?
Pardon me?
Has that type of a study ever been done in terms of our comprehensive infrastructure needs?
So I think the answer to that is no. And because it would have been accessed in the January 18 SFRC study. It's literally a hole in our knowledge base in Michigan. Did you have your hand up?
I did.
Okay, Ms. Snyder and then Dr. Pugh.
Can we get a list of school districts? Are we able to break it down in terms of what districts have the ability to levy taxes and what their per pupil fundage is? And what districts don't levy taxes and what their per pupil fundage is, state and federal wide? Can we break things down to kind of just see what you're talking about when you say that we do in fact need to make sure opportunity is equal no matter where you live in the state of Michigan?
So districts across the state have an 18 mil non-homestead levy. What it raises is different across the state because different school districts have substantial businesses, others have none. That 18 mil generates a lot in certain districts, in others a very small amount. And what the state does is the state fills in the difference, the gap, between what that 18 mil raises at the local school district level and whatever the per pupil foundation allowance is. So that's one thing. The second thing is that there are very few opportunities for local school districts to raise funding beyond that 18 mil non-homestead millage. There are three opportunities. One is a CTE millage. A second is there are actually four opportunities. CTE millage, special ed millage, and enhancement millage. And those are all done at the ISD level. And then finally, there's the opportunity to do a capital millage of one sort or another, a bond or a sinking fund at the local school district level. The challenge for years in the state, post-Proposal A, was we could all be local superintendents in the same county, and Dr. Pritchett might want to go out for an enhancement millage, but her peers around the table, we might not want to. She couldn't get the enhancement millage on the county ballot, let alone get it passed. Now, that's changed over a period of time, in part because of, bless you, in part because of the fact that school funding didn't keep pace with inflation over a period of years in the state. It's doing so now, did not over a period of years. So what we can provide you with is which ISDs have enhancement millages, which have CTE millages, which have special ed millages. So that gives you a sense of gaps in that regard. To your question about which can afford a capital millage, a bond millage, or a sinking fund, that really, on the tails, is very clear. In the middle, not so clear, because you can have a community with a lower assessed value per student that passes a millage, whereas one with a little bit higher assessed value per student does not pass a millage. So it's not solely a function of wealth, but it is in large measure a function of community wealth.
Which is why it'd be a good thing to be able to see, regardless of those factors, which I understand and generally understood prior, but what are we actually looking at when we say opportunity no matter where you live? Because regardless of whether you can pass the millage or not, that student needs to be educated. So what does the per pupil look like here, where you can, whether you do or don't, versus where you can't, and yet they still get what they need? So that I'd like to be able to break that down and see that.
So I hear what you're saying. Let us take a couple of cracks at this and let you and I have some conversation to see the extent to which it's meeting what you're asking for.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bullock.
And this is just something that, and Ms. Snyder said something that has been said often around the table and outside of the table about equal and making sure things are equal. And I just want to know, I want everybody to understand there's a difference between equal and equitable. And so if there's already an imbalance and we make everything equal, there's going to continue to be an imbalance. And so there's a reason why we do gapping, to try to level out the playing field. So if everything stays equal, everything stays at an imbalance. So let's just be mindful of that as we talk about these things, about how we want it to be equal.
I appreciate you sharing that, and I think that's to Ms. Lipton's point earlier about opportunity index, that there's some children that need more.
Yes, they should get more.
In and from school, and they should receive more for their education. A good example is a student with very substantial disabilities, but also a beginning English learner.
But also with the historic inadequate funding of communities and things like that, there's also just historic imbalance, institutional imbalance that we're still trying to levy out, as well as those day-to-day needs.
Well, the notion of opportunity index, it really makes clear that some young people have far greater exposure than others, and that exposure affects where they are when they enter school, and by extension, where they go subsequently. Do they go on vacations? Do they have access to summer camps? Do they have access to other summer experiences, to the theater, to the orchestra, to choir, to band? Do they have the opportunity to go to games, to museums, to a whole host of elements that expose them and expand their education and make them more capable within their education? To the extent that they do, they're better off in school, and it costs less by extension to educate them, all else being equal. To the extent that they are underexposed outside of school, as you know, they need more from school. Just a different way of saying the same thing.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. McMillan.
Just real quick, I know we're over time now, but you had mentioned, and so when you were talking there, it kind of perked my ears about decoding. And this relates to phonics, and I just want to bring it up briefly that, see, I was involved in, and I'm reading in the New York Times about how there were the reading wars for 30 years. Dubious theories led educators to abandon the phonics method in favor of a variety of divergent and often unsuccessful literacy learning techniques. Back then, I was fighting for phonics. We were called idiots because we weren't following the science, the research-based, the science-based research for look-see and all these theories that harmed kids for decades. And even like the NAACP in California and Oakland is furious. I mean, they're forcing their school district to go back to phonics, and there's a lot of on the internet and been written about their efforts that I'm thankful for. So I just want to point out that the idea of research-based and science-based gets thrown around a lot. You can probably have any kind of, it was strongly research-based, quote unquote, and scientifically based, and we were called idiots for defending phonics. Even in the 90s, I remember I was in 2000. So I'm glad that things are coming back. I just want to point out that anybody can come up with so-called research-based and science-based, and often it's the exact opposite, but there's plenty of studies out there that will quote unquote prove anybody's theories, actually.
We look forward to presenting on literacy in September to the State Board and to sharing more, not simply about phonics, but about the 5 elements of letters training, which we are encouraging very strongly our local educators to get professional development in. We have more than 6,000 educators across the state who are being trained in or are signed up for letters training. On our way, we hope, to tens of thousands more. Ms. Snyder.
I'll just briefly say, I have my fair share of current concerns too about doing the same thing in math that we did in reading for the last several decades, right? To get back to the foundation that once worked, then we sold literacy instruction that doesn't work. And now in this budget, we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars to re-educate teachers on literacy instruction that does work. So, and you see in the budget $25 million for math instruction, sort of changing the way, and I've seen it in local school districts in Michigan, pushing the adoption of curriculum that really is not good math instruction. So if we see this decades later, and then it's just this endless, vicious cycle of adopting curriculum and instructional practices that aren't effective, and then having to undo it after we see performance plummet. So I just, again, these are local decisions. There's not decisions that we make at the State Board of Ed level. And yet when you pump money into new ways of doing math, and you don't know that those ways of doing math really do work, we're about to see the repetition of that happen that we just saw in literacy in the last several decades here in the state of Michigan and in different parts of the country. And we talked about that in June, when they were pushing the STEM. And it's like, if you're going to do that, just make sure that you're actually encouraging healthy instructional math processes. Because if you're not, then you're not going to get the kids that are really interested and capable, because it really decreases the students' confidence. And so anyhow, again, I know we don't make those decisions at this board, but I think it's important to talk about it for you guys to be doing the same.
Yep. We look forward to talking with you more about the math efforts that the state legislature has funded in the fiscal year 24 budget. I will say that the $140 million in per pupil literacy support to local school districts is not to retrain local educators. I think it's to extend their training more properly. But I'm not going to belabor the point. I would like to make 2 other notes. That the effort on universal meals is an extraordinary effort. We're the seventh state in the country to go to universal meals. This is an outgrowth of what we learned in the pandemic. We learned that if you serve everyone, more children will eat. And specifically, middle-class children, whom we had assumed had the wherewithal to fund their food either from home or in loading up their food service accounts, they were eating more. And last year, what we experienced when the Fed said the pandemic relief for universal meals is over, the waiver associated with universal meals is over, notwithstanding our efforts, Dr. Golzinski, to try to extend that waiver, we found an adverse impact associated therewith. We look forward to getting back to feeding everyone in a congregate setting and doing the best we can with our young people as a result. It's hard to get something out of a young person if they don't have food in their system. Those of us who have tried know that it's a difficult thing. And then the only other thing that I would like to add is that though this budget is a strong budget, and the preceding one an extraordinary budget in and of itself, you cannot make up for in 2 years the persistent underfunding, Ms. Jackson, of local public school districts in the state of Michigan for a couple of decades. You cannot make up for it in one fell swoop. And I'm reminded of having gone into Mrs. Jackson's classroom at Man Learning Community when we honored her, she honored us, with the winning of the Michigan Teacher of the Year award. And I looked at her class and I said, whoa, a lot of kids here. And she said, mm-hmm. And I said, how many? She said, well, 27 today. I said, 27 today? She said, yeah. I said, well, what's normal? She said, I have 33 enrolled. So we have a long way to go, ladies and gentlemen, before we get funding to a place that our teachers feel as fully efficacious as they need to for our young people in the state of Michigan. We continue to be billions of dollars underfunded according to the School Finance Research Collaborative. And we are going to be on that every single month. Because if you don't get upstream right, you can't get downstream right. If you don't get the resources right, you can't get the outcomes right. If you don't get the financial resources to drive the human resources to drive the outcomes, you cannot get the outcomes. Presenters, we appreciate you. Dr. Golzinski, Mr. Simmons, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Dr. Rice, there was one piece that I did want
Please.
to,
Yep.
I'm so sorry, but
Please.
it was when Board Member Lipton was asking about the infrastructure and if there had been previous studies. I do want to just piggyback on what you just said. I mean, that is huge to be in a budget and continuously. And then I also want to make sure, well, a couple of things. The Government Accountability Office has done some research, not a lot, but it just shows the lack and need for work to be done around infrastructures. And we know when we go into certain states and certain communities, that's even greater. We've heard people do presentations to talk about buildings that don't have ventilation, buildings that have not had ventilation looked at in decades. And I just want to also commend this board because we had a lot to do with that. In July of 2021, we called for the departments to work together. We asked for a presentation by Healthy Schools Network. We asked for ASHRAE to be engineers, to be a part of those conversations. And so to see the fruit of that unfold is huge, and I think that this board should take credit for that as well. So just wanted to get that out there and be able to give us some kudos and know there are not to many studies, not just here, but across the country. And we know that children spend a considerable amount of time, only second to the home, in these school buildings.
Thank you for that. So Dr. Pugh is referencing U.S. General Accounting Office studies. They date back decades. They're national studies. They are impactful. They are important. I was referring to the state study, but you're absolutely right. For decades, the country has underfunded school buildings, and I think there's a growing recognition of that federally. Yes. That this has been a problem and that this needs to be addressed. In addition to our partnerships with Eagle and DHHS, we have partnerships with Leo. You saw that in June, and with Treasury as well. Shout out to Treasury, which is doing a strong job in working with our young people and getting them through college with fellowships and scholarships and with their student teacher stipends. There's greater flexibility around fellowships for 2024. We think that's going to open more doors for our young people in 2024. Thank you again, presenters. Board, it's 11:36. The next item on the Committee of the Whole agenda is a presentation and update on PA 88 of 2022 Post-Graduation Opportunities Informational Packet. This is a presentation that will feature information on the Post-Secondary Opportunities Informational Packet in the effort to fulfill the requirement of MCL 380.1293. We welcome our presenters, Dr. Delsa Chapman, backed by popular demand, Deputy Superintendent of the Division of Educators, Student and School Supports, Dr. Michelle Harmala, Deputy Superintendent, P20 System and Student Transitions Division, Anne Marie Mapes, Special Assistant in the Division of Educators, Student and School Supports, and Amanda Stoll, Special Assistant, P20 System and Student Transitions Division. This is an informational presentation. No board action is required. Presenters, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Rice. Good morning. I think we have the PowerPoint that needs to change. I'm not sure who leads that. We could have that changed. That would be great. And while that's being changed, good morning and thank you, Dr. Rice and board and all in attendance. It's nice to be here with you, some of you for the first time and others of you who I've met before, and it's good to see you again. So on May 26th of 2022, Governor Whitmer signed into law Public Act 88 of 2022. Today, the four of us, Dr. Chapman, myself, Anne Marie Mapes, Dr. Chapman, Special Assistant, Amanda Stool, my Special Assistant, will share what the law requires of the department and of local education agencies. We'll also share the steps the Michigan Department of Education has taken to fulfill this obligation along with our various partners. Dr. Chapman.
Thank you, Dr. Harmala. As we share Public Act 88 of 2022, the Post-Graduation Opportunities Informational Packet, it is important to understand how this work supports the Michigan Top 10 Strategic Education Plan. The goals that align to PA 88 of 2022 are Goal 4, expand secondary learning opportunities for all students, and more specifically, Goal 6, increase the percentage of adults with a post-secondary credential. As an overview, we would like to highlight that this presentation will share the why, including MCL 380-1293 and its requirement and associated timeline, the how, relative to stakeholders, a design session, along with general and specific student, family, and educator feedback. And finally, the what, including the Pathfinder resources page and Pathfinder overall resources. We will close with next steps and expansion possibilities relevant to PA 88 of 2022. And now to Amanda and Anne Marie to begin our discussion of the overview components. Amanda?
Thank you, Dr. Chapman. Good morning, board. Public Act 88 of 2022 adds a law to the revised school code section 1293 titled the Post-Graduation Opportunity Information Packet. The law requires the department to develop or update and make available to all school districts, intermediate school districts, public school academies, and non-public schools an informational packet to be given by school officials to each pupil or student enrolled in grades 8 to 12. An informational packet described in this subsection may consist of a collection of links to web-based exploratory programs described in this subsection, or written materials shared in electronic form no later than August 1st of each year. LEAs have an obligation to share the informational packet with students by October 1st of each year.
In the next few slides, we will detail the components of the law, which includes information regarding the location of school districts, ISDs, and public school academies that choose to offer early middle college programs, advanced placement, and college-level examination programs that are available to pupils in grades 8 to 12. Information regarding the average tuition and average fees associated with attendance at each public university and community college in Michigan, the 6-year success rate for each public university and community college, the dollar value for loans dispersed, the number of unique student loans, and the number of unique recipients who receive loans at a post-secondary institution in Michigan, a list of at least 10 post-secondary vocational training opportunities, including the average costs associated with certification, 20 of the most in-demand occupations in Michigan, including a breakdown of the average salary for each occupation and education level, public and private resources, including public and private scholarship opportunities, public service opportunities for high school graduates, including information about the public safety sector, and post-secondary training and tuition assistance available to those who chose a career in public service and what those careers in public service might be.
In order to achieve the charge set forth in MCL 380-1293, the department pulled together a cross-division, cross-agency team, which will be highlighted on the next slide. Here, we highlight the phases of the project: planning, research and design, and development, as well as the key milestones for achieving the cross-division, cross-agency team's outcomes. The team's outcomes were to establish a process to access data through existing collections, where available, and compile into an electronic format to be shared with all recipients listed in the law. Integrate the information into an existing tool or tools, and update data on an annual basis and refine as needed. In the next few slides, we will share how the team worked together to create the final post-graduation informational packet, now ready to be shared with students and their families.
The stakeholder groups detailed on the slide provided critical input during the planning phase by setting outcomes, the design phase by supporting data mapping and participating in a design session, and in the development phase by providing feedback on the initial design and iterating that design to the final product, which will be presented here shortly.
In December of 2022, with support of design thinking experts at Michigan Virtual, a stakeholder design sprint was conducted. The goal of the session was to develop an initial design that focused on the following questions: how do students and their families best receive information about college and career choices? And what does the most effective deliverable or deliverables look like? To achieve this, the team participated in student, family, and counselor empathy mapping, drafted need statements and journey maps, identified design considerations, conducted a lightning demo, and sketched several designs. The image displayed here depicts the initial product design that was selected after feedback was received by students, families, and educators.
In January of 2023, an overview of the design session was shared with MDE's Student Advisory Council and senior leadership team. Both groups were asked to provide input on several designs created by the design team. Additionally, feedback related to the different designs, which included the questions displayed here, was gathered through a survey shared with fellow students, families, educators, and school counselors.
After analyzing all feedback data, key themes emerged, which are highlighted on this slide. Primarily, students wanted something that is interactive and engaging that would allow them to choose and explore multiple pathways. State stakeholders shared the importance of a resource that could continuously be updated and ADA compliant. Educators' feedback addressed the need for resources that would align to students' educational development plan and not duplicate educational efforts already underway. All feedback respondents shared the importance of leveraging existing tools and resources rather than building something new.
Throughout this process, we have been collaborating with the Department of Labor and Economic Opportunities Pathfinder team. They graciously agreed to enhance the resources page within the Pathfinder platform to meet the requirements of the law. Pathfinder is an online career planning tool to help increase the number of Michigan residents with high-quality, in-demand degrees and credentials by providing information to students and adults to make informed decisions and choices about educational and career options. Modifications to the Pathfinder resources page were made to organize resources into the topics identified by the design team. Review college information, find financial aid information, get a job, serve their community or country, assess their skills if unsure of their path, and explore opportunities to earn college credit or receive training in high school. And the specific requirements of MCL 380-1293 were added as links to the resources page under the headers. The enhanced Pathfinder resources page went live on August 1st, 2023.
As Anne Marie shared, the Pathfinder resource page was updated to reflect the design session categories. As you can see here, the old categories are on the left and the new categories are to the right. The data required by MCL 380-1293 align with the new categories shown, and those components required by the law are listed in bold text on the updated resource page. Additionally, a statement was added to the top of the Pathfinder resource page that highlights the partnership between the Michigan Department of Ed, Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunities, and our other statewide stakeholders.
The screen shown here displays the college information from the resources page. The bold text identifies components of the law. The resources page has been enhanced to provide, for example, the average tuition and fees associated with attendance at a Michigan college or university. This data is available from two different sources, the My School Data and the United States Department of Education College Scorecard website.
The screen shown here displays the new Get a Job category. This section highlights in-demand jobs as provided in the Hot 50 Jobs Outlook through 2030 report. The Roadmap to Opportunity, a resource through the Michigan College Access Network, provides real Michigan testimonials from chosen specific career paths. Careers highlighted include carpentry, dental hygienist, electrician, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration, insurance, information technology, physical therapist assistants. The list goes on and on. For each of these careers, the Roadmap to Opportunity shows the different pathways to the career through certificate, associate's degree, and bachelor's degree, and the annual salary.
The screen shown here displays the new category, Early College Credit in High School, which aligns with Goal 4 of the Strategic Education Plan, expand secondary learning opportunities for all students. The information here lists early middle college programs, advanced placement courses, college-level examination program test locations, as well as opportunities for dual enrollment.
The screen displayed here shows the new category, Serve My Community or Country, which highlights various public service careers for serving one's community or country. We've highlighted public service employment opportunities such as firefighter, paramedic, corrections officer, school bus driver, and forest and conservation technicians. These highlighted public service careers link directly out to the Pathfinder's information to explore occupational details, including licenses and related credentials, fields, and schools offering those licenses and credentials.
The department issued a communication announcing the packet and the other important information section of the MDE weekly communication on July 27th and issued a memo about the packet on August 3rd. Detailing local district requirements and obligation to share the post-graduation informational packets with students grades 8 to 12 to meet the law by October 1st. The MDE website has been updated to include a link to the packet as well, along with a Pathfinder promotional toolkit and a student flyer. Subsequently, our work will focus on additional communication And our plan is to monitor Leo Pathfinder metrics for evidence of increased audience engagement.
Thank you, Board and Dr. Rice, for the opportunity to share the PA 88 of 22 post-graduation opportunities informational packet, which highlighted aligned resources. We will entertain any questions and comments at this time. And again, thank you.
Thank you, presenters. Board members, questions, comments? Ms. Snyder.
When will the packet be available that we can review? Did you say that?
You did. It's available electronically, and
Okay.
so what we can provide is a link that will take board members directly to that page for review.
We're happy to share that in board brief.
Okay.
Yep.
Are there, on slide 5, it says 10 post-secondary vocational training opportunities and costs. Does that packet adequately show equal vocational training and opportunities and costs for private and public pathways?
It should have a combination of both, but
Okay.
we will check to see, to make sure that that does cover that.
Okay. And then the same thing in the on-demand or most in-demand occupations. I'm assuming that's census data or something like that, or some type of data that supports that, but equal representation of private and public occupations.
Okay.
Is that something that, I'm assuming that's there?
And Ms. Snyder will verify that.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. Who's next? Ms. Lipton.
Thank you very much. This is really exciting. So I've been involved with the Promise Zones for over a decade, and this is really just, I really think this is going to be a game changer. So this is just super exciting. Just some things that I know that the statute has certain requirements. These are just some food for thought that I'm throwing out. On slide 5, where you talk about the law components, and the law obviously spells out, and I don't know if you have the ability to go beyond that, but I think highlighting our 15 promise zones throughout the state could be very, very valuable, because those promise zones exist in some of the most economically disadvantaged communities in the state. And believe it or not, despite the fact that we are out there talking to our communities, some of our promise zones are very, very large. They cover whole counties, and any additional assistance in elevating the existence that we have these promise zones where resident graduates can obtain a tuition-free path to an associate's degree is really, really life-changing for these students. So any assistance you could offer in terms of highlighting promise zones would be much appreciated. I love the stakeholders that you brought together on slide number 7. Just really an awesome group of stakeholders. Just again, some food for thought. Again, being in this space now for over a decade, you may notice now that we have in Michigan a core, because of some of the work that a lot of us are doing, of professional college coaches. I don't know that they have yet risen to the level of the Michigan School Counselor Association, although that's certainly something that we've been encouraging. But many of our community colleges have professional college coaches. MCAN has certainly been working very, very hard to make sure that they partner with college coaches. And this is really, to me, a game changer in the field of post-secondary, because these are people professionally dedicated to making sure that students persist. Because, as you know, getting the student to college is one piece of the puzzle. Making sure that it's paid for is the second. But the third leg of that stool that's critical is making sure that they persist. And again, a decade of data tells us that having that success coach, particularly for first-gen students and students coming from impoverished communities, is really, really important. So that's just a stakeholder group that I would just ask you to just keep in mind that they're out there. And let's see. Oh, just lastly, again, this is just something that on slide 13, I mean, please, this is just amazing, amazing, amazing. Just one of the things that we talk about in at least the Statewide Association of Promise Zones is that we tend to not necessarily lead with a 4-year degree. Although I think that under college information, that's amazing. But we try to talk about a post-secondary journey, mainly because for a lot of students, after they graduate from high school, particularly if they're not getting a lot of support from their community, 4-year does seem daunting. So, and I know MCAN is also in line with this. We try to talk about that a post-secondary credential or degree can make the difference. And so I noticed that you have a 4-year degree, which seems so specific, because we try to talk to our students about post-secondary to get them comfortable with the idea of life after high school. So it's just a small thought to maybe not lead with 4-year, but thank you so much. This is great.
We have as bumpers PA 88. And so we're guided by the language of the statute, which is not necessarily language that we would have crafted, but it's language that we have to comply with. Does it
specify? I don't know. I mean, I'd be surprised. But
Yeah.
Again, it's just something to think about.
There is a leaning toward 4-year degrees, which is not consistent with necessarily with the education that all children need to be successful in their careers of choice. And I think that's really to your point, that we want kids to dream as broadly as possible, to have the widest possible dreams for the widest possible groups of kids, and to get the education associated with their dreams, not more, not less.
Right. Or at least just, I mean, I'm just visually, the first thing I see, a 4-year degree from a Michigan, I'm just saying that maybe not lead with that. Maybe we talk
That's
about
fair.
Post-secondary and
slide that in.
slide it in. Just food for thought.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you very much. We will chew on that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Lipton. Other reflections. Dr. Pritchett.
Thank you. Thank you for the information. And I know you've sent out the link to the ISDs and local districts at this point. In that communication, was there any suggestions to them on how they might introduce this or have students become aware of this? Because, beginning of school, a whole lot of things going on. I'm thinking especially 8th, 9th, and 10th graders. So is that being left up to school districts to kind of put it in their newsletters? By the way, this is another resource for you, and I know it's, up to the school district to kind of roll it out at this point. I just wondered if in the communication there had been any suggestions. Make sure you include this in their back-to-school packets, or as counselors might meet with students throughout the year, make sure they're aware this is yet another resource they can go to.
We do have our contacts here that they would be able to reach out to, and we embedded and encourage reference to a toolkit that would have several different examples of how to implement it. But because of our local status,
Right.
local control status, we kept that very broad, but really emphasized, please reach out to us if you need support and or guidance on making that October 1st deadline.
Okay, all right. And I assume that, everybody has access to the internet, but we know you shouldn't use everybody because there's probably some individuals who still want it in their hands. I assume there's a way that a district can print this material or provide it to them in paper copy if that's something that they think might be helpful for their population.
Yes, if a district goes in and there are particular components within the page that they would want to screenshot or captivate and create their own packet to introduce and refer to the link, they will have that capability as well.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Pritchett. Anything more for the good of the group? Board members, once, twice, thrice. If not, presenters, thank you very much. It is noon, Board. State Board of Education will stand adjourned for lunch. We will reconvene the regular meeting of the State Board of Education at 1